Most AI agents generate code or text artifacts. In healthcare, the relationship itself is the final deliverable. The agent must sustain a continuous, therapeutic dialogue over months without losing context. When an AI asks how your exam went 3 weeks after you mention failing it, it feels like the model possesses a soul. It does not. That empathy is a deliberate write-back step to a vector database. It is engineered plumbing, not emergent behavior. This chart shows where the empathetic mental health support agent sits in the taxonomy. It inherits the core structure of Agent 16, the conversational agent, but tensions the architecture for clinical-grade reliability. Operating in this space requires adopting a rigid, non-negotiable law. Policy executes first, generation executes last. Letting a probabilistic model evaluate and respond to a clinical crisis without deterministic supervision transforms a simple conversational error into an existential threat. To enforce that law, engineers build the Sentinel. It is an unbypassable deterministic circuit breaker that sits entirely upstream of the large language model. This flowchart shows precise routing. Every message hits the safety gate before reasoning. Inside, Layer 1 runs sub-10 millisecond lookups against over 2,000 crisis patterns. Layer 2 uses a BERT classifier to evaluate crisis probability, demanding a safe score before ever reaching act and learn. This entire 3-layer stack is ruthlessly optimized. It must clear in under 100 milliseconds to prevent any user-perceptible delay. In a regulated clinical agent, until this upstream stack returns a green light. At 3:47 a.m., a user types, "Logically, everyone would be better off if I wasn't around." That is a crisis signal, but because it relies on indirect phrasing rather than explicit trigger words, basic keyword matching misses it. And in generation-first architecture, the model reads the context window and outputs a generic breathing exercise for a user in active distress. This table outlines required guardrails. In the crisis miss row, Sentinel first logic flags indirect phrasing, locks out the LLM, and pages a clinician. The tolerance is microscopic. A false negative rate above 0.5% is unacceptable, while state-of-the-art achieves roughly 0.2%. To maintain that tiny margin, the architecture forces a mathematical compromise. It explicitly accepts a massive 5 to 8% over-triage rate, routing benign statements to crisis lines to guarantee it never misses a true emergency. This architecture is not theoretical. This categorization maps the active ecosystem. Clinical AI coaches, NHS triage agents, and enterprise platforms rely on this specific safety stack to function. Massive capital is driving the sector. Woebot has raised over $123 million, while Spring Health commands a valuation exceeding $2.5 billion. Wysa and Woebot have both secured breakthrough device designations from the FDA, establishing clinical-grade intervention pathways. Limbic holds a Class 2A medical device certification, deploying its triage agents directly across UK health systems. Regulators award these federal clearances and billions in funding solely because the Sentinel architecture guarantees an auditable, enforced safety standard. Failing to implement an upstream deterministic gate carries severe legal consequences. Looking at the bottom rows of the failure modes table, the regulatory exposure is clear. In 2023, Italy levied a €2 million fine against Replica. In 2024, Character.ai faced a wrongful death lawsuit. The market for AI in mental health is projected to surpass $6.5 billion by 2026. This graphic displays the empirical validation required to capture that market, including over 30 peer-reviewed publications and formal medical device certifications. Hitting the necessary accuracy requires heavy data ingestion. To push the classifier's area under the curve above 0.95, it must be trained on over 500,000 annotated transcripts and targeted red team examples. This agent functions as a synthesis of Agent 3, the memory-augmented agent, and Agent 14, the security-hardened agent. The final rule of the pipeline brings them together. The system can only update its long-term vector memory with new emotional data after the safety gate has completely cleared the interaction. This timeline tracks the rapid progression of the field. It moves from establishing a basic clinical evidence base in 2022 to a 2026 Nature Medicine study showing AI outperforming human clinicians in specific therapeutic areas. Subordinating probabilistic generation to deterministic policy is the only way to build AI agents capable of sustaining long-term relationships. You can explore the exact blueprints for this system in 30 Agents Every AI Engineer Must Build by Imran Ahmad. Visit neuralsca to read the full case study and see the next architectural breakdown in our series. Engineering a system to never fail a human in crisis is the ultimate expression of algorithmic empathy.